来到纽约妈妈的交换日记，
在这里我们都交换些什么呢？
青少年教养、台美教育，
也会聊聊异乡生活、旅游和女性成长。Hello， 我是 Pamela。时间一下子到了6月底，就表示大家应该已经开始或者是准备要放暑假了。说到这个暑假呢，我想对于大部分的家长来说，应该算是又爱又恨吧。那爱的当然就是说孩子放假啦，就不用每天就要催着他们要早点去睡觉，早点起床，然后要准备早餐，有的时候还要准备午餐，下课要接送，然后回家以后要盯功课，要准备考试，有一连串有的没有的压力跟potential 的冲突点。那如果家庭里有时间跟资源许可的话呢，可能还会安排一些全家的旅行啊，或者是一些出游的亲子时光。我觉得这应该都算是比较开心的部分，然后压力会比较小的部分吧。那恨的部分呢，我想应该就是说孩子在家里的时间变多了。如果是家里有小孩的家庭呢，那妈妈们可能就要开始绞尽脑汁想着要陪他们玩，陪他们做的活动，因为天气毕竟都很热嘛，又不能老是往外跑。那如果是家里有孩子比较大的那个家庭呢，妈妈也是得要想出一些活动来让他们做，不然的话小孩可能就很容易沉迷在电脑前面啊，电视前面啊。还有一点就是我觉得青春期的小孩真的还蛮容易饿的。我感觉我每天都会被追着要准备不同的点心，然后每2-3个小时就会有人说我饿了，我想要吃东西。然后这个时候我就觉得好累哦，就是一直要想出新花招，就觉得还蛮想把他们通通全部都送去夏令营的。但是我们之前有聊过啊，夏令营也实在是不便宜，所以我觉得这林林总总下来啊，我觉得暑假对于妈妈来讲应该算是一个蛮又爱又恨的存在，对吧？至少对我来讲是这样子的。不过前一阵子呢，我有一个朋友就发给我一个连结，是关于宾州州立大学他们3年前在一个叫做发展心理学，就是 Developmental Psychology 的这个期刊上面发表了一个研究报告。那这个研究呢是在探讨，就是说在青少年的这个成长阶段，父母对于他们生活的参与程度，还有他给予他们的情感支持，还有如何有效的教养方式呢，会怎么样来影响他们这些孩子成年之后亲子品质的这个关系，亲子关系的这个品质。那研究团队呢，他有针对就是美国宾州啊、爱荷华州几个州，就是他们不同地区的将近2000多位的参与者来进行一个长期的调查。那这些家庭的成员呢，有大概是从6年级到12年级这个年纪的孩子做一个问卷，然后等到他们22岁就是成年了之后呢，再一次会填写调查问卷来追踪，就是说他们之前的这些假设跟他们后来的发展。那这个研究呢就显示啦，就是说在教养孩子教养方式，在孩子在青少年的时候呢，其实很多家庭就会开始发生很多变化，因为父母通常可能会随着时间表现出比较少的温暖跟关爱，因为这个孩子长大了，然后父母可能工作也比较忙了，那与青少年的相处时间变少，并且也可能在就是 discipline 上面变得更为严厉然而呢，如果能够持续保持正向教养跟参与的父母，会对日后跟孩子建立比较亲密的关系奠定蛮良好的基础的。那我觉得这些大家应该都不意外，那我就不念太多这个数据的资料了。我比较想分享的一下是他们有提到一些比较直化，就是 qualitative 的建议就比如说随着青少年寻求他们更加的独立自主呢，那我觉得对于父母要如何参与他们生活来讲，可能就不太像他们在小时候那样那么的直观，就是我们要怎么样就是持续的维持这个亲密关系呢，的确是越来越挑战的。那他们的研究结果呢，就有显示说一些建议，他建议这个时期的家长可以进行下面的一些活动来维持亲子关系，比如说可以一起找一些事情一起来做，包括一起运动、骑脚踏车、去散步、 去健身，甚至一起打电动、做饭，然后参加一些活动，或只是一起外出吃个饭或用甜点。那我觉得这些其实都是我看到我身边蛮多家里有就是 preteen 或是青少年的父母常在做的就是因为毕竟不再像小孩时候一样，他们好像简单带他们去个公园啊，做个什么手作就可以满足他们了，反而是要找一些这样的事情来一起做，比较可以促进彼此之间的亲子就是 interaction 的时光。那第二个建议呢，就是可以一起来完成家庭中的一些小专案。那这我觉得也蛮适合暑假的时候来做，就比如说可以一起重新讨论改造某一个房间，或者是我看我朋友就是他们一起讨论，就是重新怎么样再规划、再利用他们车库的空间，甚至一起粉刷某一个废弃，就是比较常用到的客房，然后甚至研究一下家里哪些电器要换了，比如说家里可能有些男孩子很喜欢研究一些新的车子啊，或者是新的那种电器的机型，然后爸爸跟孩子就可以一起来讨论。然后像我女儿就可能会跟她爸爸讨论，然后如果要买一个新的 3D printer 啊这种东西，他们就会很兴致勃勃在讨论一些 detail， 或者是我有看到一些父子或父女会一起就是买 Lego 啊，然后来讨论来 build up Lego， 这样子是一个属于家庭中一起做的小专案。那再来就是另外一个方向就是聊聊学校生活，那我想这个就是大部分的家庭都会就是尽力做的吧，就是在晚餐时间啊，或是我们之前有提到就是在车上的时间，大家聊聊今天在学校发生什么事。那第四个方向就是讨论彼此对于未来的想法与规划。这一点啊，我个人是觉得比较因人而异啦，因为就是有一些孩子他可能毕竟就是比较早熟一点，比较成熟一点，他们就可能 ready 了，会来愿意而且想要聊这件事情。但是有一些孩子，我觉得他们可能还没有想到那么多那么远，那父母就是硬要聊的话，反而会让他们觉得蛮压力蛮大，蛮厌烦的。但是我觉得这个当然，我觉得潜移默化去影响就是小孩子对于就是未来的一些想法跟规划，我觉得都也是一个蛮好的方向的。那我觉得这个研究报告有指出，就是说在青少年早期可以感受到较高程度父母温暖的孩子呢，在他们进入20多岁之后，普遍他们和父母的关系就会更为亲密和温馨。比如说像一个简单的提醒是，不要忘了在生活当中说出重要的话，比如说我爱你，我很支持你，我很在乎你，透过一些肢体跟语言来拥抱，甚至只是拍拍他的背来表达一些爱与支持。我觉得这一点真的是我们亚洲的父母有的时候比较不是那么会记得要做到的，那的确是还蛮希望能够提醒大家的。那另外也还有一个就是研究会显示说，如果孩子他在6年级的时候，就等于是他 preteen 的开始的时候，有良好的 discipline， 然后能够持续这样的教养方式到青少年时期的时候，那他们等到他们真正进入20多岁，彼此亲子之间的冲突可能也会比较少。那我觉得他的补充说明是提到的这个提醒蛮好的，就是说父母应该避免对青少年采取严厉的处罚或大声的斥责，应该努力保持冷静还有一致性，就是 very calm and you have to be consistent， 然后你要持续的执行这个规范，因为青少年希望被尊重，他们希望被当作大人的对待，所以大人来对待，所以家庭的规则与提供他们就是 consequent 的这个为什么要做这样的规则的理由其实是非常重要的。哇，我跟你说，我觉得这个超难的就是你如果要问任何一个家里有青少年的爸妈，就是可以完全的做到很冷静，然后都不会大声斥责我，那个真的是觉得是我的 role model， 我自己都承认我做不到。但是这个的确是很好的提醒，就是说因为他们真的是希望被当作这个年代这个年纪，就是他们想要被当作大人对待。然后我觉得他有一个补充说明蛮好用的，就是说希望能够在适当的情况下让青少年他们来参与家庭规则的制定，就会蛮有帮助的。因为当他们参与决策的时候，他们就可能更容易接受并且遵守这个决定。比如说让他们来讨论，跟他们一起讨论合理的门禁时间啊，合理的就是手机或者是电脑的使用时间，这样子由他们来提出，然后作为一个家庭共同讨论的一个规则， 那可能他们也会比较愿意遵守这样子。那我觉得说了这么多，其实我觉得这些发现呢，我想大家听到这边应该都不会觉得有意外，但重点是第一个我们常常会忘记，所以就是必须要互相提醒，然后更重要的是我们要试着去想，就是说到底应该要怎么做，然后怎么开始做，然后时要记得这么做，我觉得这是比较困难的。那其实对我来讲，能够让青春期的孩子跟我好好的，就只是好好的有一段时间聊聊天，我觉得就已经很不容易了，我必须要很诚实的说。那我们之前在我们的 podcast 上面有做过几次与青少年对谈，那也都有得到还蛮不错的回响的。那这一阵子难得我们家小孩放假了嘛，我就问我们家的青少女愿不愿意再来和妈妈聊一聊。得到她的首肯之后呢，我就决定我要完全让我们家11岁的小少女来决定她想要聊什么，由她来制定题目，然后她来发问，然后我来回答，这样她觉得她压力比较小一点。然后我们也说好就不写稿，然后也不彩排，就原汁原味，就是来记录我们母女这个对话的日常。那我希望透过这个方式能够给一个就是大家平常可能没有特别找时间和家里青少年坐下来聊一聊的家庭一个提醒。当然如果你们家平常就有很深入的聊天的方式，那我真的还蛮羡慕你，也恭喜你的。那我非常非常希望你能够把你的方式还有你的 pebble 呢分享给我们，让我们可以一起来學習。好的，那就废话不多说，我们今天就开始今天的对谈吧。Hello, I'm Pamela.
Hi, I'm Madison.
Okay, so today we again have a special episode. So I'm gonna turn it over to our today's show's host, Madison, to tell you all about it.
Today, I'm going to get to ask my mom around 10 questions about when she was my age.
Oh, why do you want to do that?
So I can learn a bit more about you.
Okay, so you think that may be an interesting conversation between us?
I hope so.
Okay, so let's go ahead. I will let you start it.
My first question I have for you was, did you play any sports when you were younger?
Did I play any sports when I was younger? What do you think? Do you think I did?
Probably.
Okay, probably. Okay, I think I did. So I was a swimmer when I was in middle school and a little bit in high school. And also in high school and also in college, I was actually playing volleyball in my team. So I think my team in the high school won the second place in my school, and when I was in college, my volleyball team actually won the first place in my college.
Are there any more fun or fail moments you had while playing sports?
Fun and memorable moment. I think, so one of the memorable moments I always remember is during the championship game and when I was in high school. So that was, of course, this championship game, so that's the last game, so right? We play against with a very good team. And then at the end, the result is we actually lost that game. So we didn't win the first place. We were the second place. But what I was always remember is that the moment of of course, during the game, I missed some ball or my team member missed some ball. And those kind of a fail moment keep repeating in my head. It's like, what if I do it differently? I may be able to score for my team. What if, I'd be more aggressive? I keep thinking about what can I do differently, and the result could be different. So that was one of the most, memorable game, kind of keep repeating in my head, because I always think that, if I do something small thing differently, the result could be different.
That's
How about
very
you?
interesting.
Do you have any kind of fun one or memorable one?
I love to play soccer, and one memorable moment that I had while playing was, we were losing 0-1, and there was 1 minute left in the game, and we had a very clutch moment where one of my teammates scored last minute and we tied the game.
Oh, okay. So instead of losing, but a last minute, you actually come back and tie the game. Wow, that must feel very good.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of my next questions is, what is school like in Taiwan? Like, do you guys have to wear a uniform, or is any compared to like our schools?
Yeah, so when I grew up, I don't know about these days in Taiwan, but when I grew up, we actually have to wear a uniform ever since elementary school all the way to high school. Yeah, even like middle school, high school, we all have to wear a uniform. But we will have like Wednesday and maybe Saturday. We used to have to go to school on Saturday.
Oh.
I don't know if you can you imagine that, yeah. But when we go to school like Saturday at the time, we were allowed to wear our own clothes. So like once a week, you can
At
kind
least,
of decide, yeah. But then when you get to like, middle school, high school, there's no class in Saturday anymore. So we pretty much have to wear a uniform to school. What do you think about wearing uniform? What is a good or the bad part of wearing uniform?
Well, a good part might be you can like no one will wear some inappropriate stuff, or like maybe you can keep everyone in order.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of bad because it's kind of like uncomfortable sometimes, and maybe something happens to it and you can't wear it one day.
Yeah, because in my opinion, I think the good part is that every morning then you don't have to waste your time to think about what I'm gonna wear.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like just the same thing. You make sure it's clean and then you put it on and you go, right? And then there is a bad, I don't know if it's a bad part or not. So I tell you a story. So the high school I went to in Taiwan, we have a very unique color of uniform. Meaning that we wear that color, everybody kind of know that I was from that high school. So that means if I'm like, taking a bus, go to school, go shopping, or I go to whatever, people saw my uniform, they know exactly you're from that school. So that also means you better not do something like, crazy. People will actually call the school principals like, hey, I saw one of your students doing like crazy or like an inappropriate thing.
Yeah.
Which is, you always have to, and it's not because of your uniform you don't do things like that, but you technically feel like the entire country is like watching you.
Yeah.
Because that was it's an honor, because my high school is very hard to get in. But once you get in, it's kind of also like an honor, but also it's a responsibility that you wear that uniform. You kind of represent your school, so you make sure that you actually be responsible for it.
That's true.
Yeah, that's very different than here, right? You guys have a lot more freedom, decide what you want to wear, you are more individually, but that's another thing. I think wearing uniform make it more like everybody's a big of group, versus here, everybody wear your own things, more individualism. Right? That's the difference. Yeah.
Another question I have for you is, what interesting hobby did you have that I might like? Maybe we have a hobby we could share together and enjoy.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about it. Oh, I think one thing we both like to do is probably baking or cooking. I think I personally like cooking more than baking, but I guess you like baking more than cooking?
Yeah, a bit.
Why is that?
I feel like it's a bit easier to like follow the instructions, whereas I'm not as good as like cooking with like. I feel like baking just a bit easier for me.
Baking is kind of like more precise, right?
Yeah.
You kind of like exactly tell you like 3 spoons, 2 spoons, and you do it and you do it. But guess what? I think a lot of people don't like baking for that particular reason.
Yeah, because cooking's more like creative. Like you won't ruin it if you put too much or too little.
Exactly. So cooking is more like art, and then baking is more like a science.
Yeah.
Almost, right? But I think both, in general, we both enjoy doing things in the kitchen, I guess.
Yeah.
And we both enjoy having good food. Right? And both enjoy to actually go try like good sushi or go restaurant, and then we can enjoy good food and have a good time together. Right? Yeah, so I think that could be one of the hobby that we like to do it together. Unfortunately, I don't know how to play chess. Otherwise, I can play that with you. But sometimes we play card together. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's some kind of a hobby. We can do it together.
Speaking of what you just mentioned, chess, did you have any clubs in your school or like somewhere else, like my chess club?
Oh, so you do chess club in school, right? I did. So when I was in high school, guess what kind of club I was in?
Singing?
Okay, so singing. So I was kind of in the chorus when I was in like elementary school and middle school. Yeah, that I actually did a couple years. You remind me that. Yeah, so you do know that I like singing. But in high school, I was actually in a guitar club. So we play like a classical guitar, and then we also sing with a guitar, and also I went to some of like a guitar sing competition. That was kind of
I never knew you knew how to play guitar.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, because I barely play this thing anymore. That need practice. It's not something that I can pick up and replay it again, but I have a lot of good friends play guitar with me back in high school. And then in the college, I was in a club. You know, we do community service. So basically, I think I may have told you that we actually every summer and winter vacation, we go to like a countryside and then we run like a summer camp or winter camp for the kids in the middle school and elementary school. Yeah, it was kind of fun. That's probably why I like to organize organize, you know, activity and then game for the little kids. Yeah.
In school, one of my favorite subjects is probably ELA.
What does ELA stand for?
ELA is, I'm not exactly sure what it stands for, but it's related to like writing and English, reading, grammar, vocabulary, and like I'm kind of good at that, so I like that, but I want to know what your favorite subject was.
Wow. You know, in school studies like a long time ago for me. I try to remember what I like. I think at one point I do like math. You know, sometimes I think I enjoy the process of solving problems. Not the complicated math. Yeah. At a certain point, I don't know how to solve it, but I think when I was in maybe elementary school, middle school, I feel like I'm enjoying solving the problem, and it's very logical, and I like math. And I also like history at one point, because I feel like history is almost like reading a lot of story. Like, you know, what happened in the past.
In my history class, my teacher is really nice. We call it social studies now.
Yeah.
He's really nice, but sometimes it's a bit boring because usually we just do like note-taking and not a lot of activities.
Yeah, I guess sometimes the history could be hard because you have to memorize a lot of things. Maybe that's the part that you don't enjoy the most.
Probably.
Yeah. But if you think about it, right, history sometimes is interesting because you read those stories, what happened in the past, and what very interesting is that something sometimes happened in the past is actually repeat itself. Right? And then you learn, you know, from what actually happened in the past could actually reflect today's world. So that's the interesting part.
Oh, that's interesting. What's the hardest thing you've ever had to learn?
You mean the subject in school?
Anything in general.
Wow, what are the hardest things I have to learn? I mean, I guess different age, you will have a different answer. You know what I mean? So
That's
for example, when I was in the elementary or middle school, the first time I had to learn English, I think it's hard. Because that's a total different language than, you know, what I grew up with. And at that time, I think English is hard. And then when I get to, like, you know, middle school, high school, even college, I used to like math, I mentioned. But I think calculus is really hard. Like, that's a very advanced math. I was never ever to get it. I almost failed my calculus when I was in the college, right?
Yeah.
So there's like different hard things you fail, but then you overcome it, and later on you come back, it's like, oh, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you think is the hard things you have ever?
Well, I think one of them, because I'm not exactly sure what the hardest thing, but I'm in band and I had to learn how to play the flute. And in 4th grade, when I started playing the flute, I was like, okay, and I kind of didn't like know how to make sound or like play some of the notes. Yeah. But now I can play like full songs. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, it must feel great, right? If one point it was so hard, and then later on it's like, well, actually I overcome it. I did great. Yeah, good. That's a good question.
Let me think of another question.
Okay.
Well, one thing I always wanted to learn was like, I'm okay at Chinese and I'm still learning, but Can you teach me a Taiwanese phrase that maybe your parents?
Right. Okay, yeah. So I think one time we must have talked about that in Taiwanese culture, right? When people greet each other, a lot of time we don't say how are you or hi or hello. The most common way a lot of people greet each other is actually ask you, have you eaten? Like meaning that because so what that actually translate into Taiwanese is called 假爸喂.
Oh.
假 is eat.
爸爸.
Yeah, ba is like, if you're full, and then boy is a question, right? So you think why people ask that? 假爸喂.
Have you eaten yet? 假爸喂.
Have you thought about why that's a kind of very common like greeting among each other?
Maybe it's like being respectful, asking someone.
Yeah, I think it's because the hospitality. Like, we're always concerned about make sure you as a friend or guest or whoever, have you eaten? Have you eaten good food? And if your answer is like, oh, not yet, then we will be like, let's go eat together. And that's kind of how people connect with each other, talk to each other. So you hear that a lot when you're in Taiwan, like your grandparents may ask you 假爸喂, right? You go to someone else's house, people may ask you 假爸喂 because they wanted to know, have you eaten? And then do you want to have some good food together?
That's funny.
Okay, what else you want to talk about?
When you were a kid, did you ever get in trouble a lot? Or maybe your brother got in trouble a bit more? Or
I guess you'll get different answer if you ask my brother versus asking me. Yeah, I'm sure he say I make a lot of trouble, but I would say he did the same thing too. So for me, I in my definition, I don't think I get into trouble a lot. I'm such a good student, and I always listen to my parents and all that. But I think when I get older, my mom always want to. In our house we have like curfew. Like,
Yeah.
I always have to get home by a certain time, and then sometimes I always pass that curfew, and my mom got very mad at me. So that could be a potential trouble you refer to. But I try to do my very best. But sometimes I pass that deadline, and then my mom be like, "You are in trouble. You're grounded." Right? Yeah, that's probably the trouble moment I can remember.
my
Do you
next
get into trouble a lot?
sometimes.
Yeah, what do you think is your trouble moment?
I'm not sure exactly, but sometimes I get in trouble with my brother or
you guys
other
when you guys are
times.
fighting?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, what else?
What was your biggest dream when you were a kid? Like to become or like have?
Wow, biggest dream when I was a kid. I mean, I thought you're gonna ask me some kind of question like that, and I tried to think about that. I think when we were kids, we were always being asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?"
Yeah.
That question I'm sure you got people ask you that a lot too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I remember when the first time I got asked that question, I was like, okay, I don't know what I can do, but I will look around people around me to see if there's someone that I really like, and I can become like that person. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like role model situation. Right?
Yeah.
So for example, I see my teacher every day. She was a really nice woman and young lady. I was like, maybe I want to become a teacher.
Yeah.
Or like I see my mom, she's a very successful businesswoman. She is really good at what she's doing, and she has a very respectful job and then working in a big company. So I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be a very successful, businesswoman, right?
Yeah.
So it's always like you don't know exactly what your dream is, but you kind of try to find people around you and then try to portray that maybe I want to live a life like that, and that could potentially my dream, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started. I want to be a teacher at one point. I want to be a lawyer at one point, and I want to be like a successful business, woman like my mom at one point. But later on, I realized that those are just, occasion, right? Those are just
Yeah,
the way that
occasional.
how do you kind of like get a paycheck, basically.
Yeah.
So a bigger question is more about what kind of person you wanted to be, right? And what kind of person you wanted to be, and what kind of things you do will make you happy, right? I guess that's probably my way of defining what my dream is, right? And I slowly realized that one thing I always feel like what made me happy is when I actually have an impact on other people. So like earlier I was telling you that when I was in college I was doing like community service type of club, right? We went to like a countryside and do the camp for the little kids and then serving the community and all that. I feel so happy when I see those little kids that they were enjoy their time in our summer camp and we enjoy a good time together, and then they usually will roll me letters and cards during the semester to say we're so looking forward to summer, you guys coming back. And then when the little kid would tell me that when they get older, they want to become a camp counselor just like me. That made me feel so happy, right? And that's what like when I was little. And then later on, when I started my career, I was a consultant, like consultants like helping other company to solve problem. And then those are very satisfying as well because people come to you with a problem, you help them solve the problem. So I realized that in my whole career, no matter when I was working or as a person, I always enjoy like
Helping people.
I mean helping people sounds nice. We all should be kind, helping people. I
making
think
people
more
feel
important
happy.
And helping feel like you are making impact on other people's life. Like right now I'm doing a lot of volunteer work at school, and then people was like, why are you doing that? Why you spend so much money on time on that? You didn't make any money out of it, right? But guess what? It's very, I guess, in a way, so satisfying.
Yeah.
When you go to school, you see those little kids, some are your friends, some are, even the younger kids than you. Seeing they come back again and again to say, they're so happy and feel like they enjoy their good time. That is one of the best time that I have, and then that was always one of my dreams that I hope I can impact more people and bring happiness for more people.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you find something that you're passionate about for your life as well. Are you still kind of slowly looking?
I guess I don't have like a main dream right now, but
What is one of your dreams? Having a dog?
Yeah, I would love to have a dog when I grow up.
Okay, that's
I
could
like
be a little
dogs.
dream. What else? What else? What is your current? I mean, I'm sure that can change. Just like my dream changed like 1,000 times. But what is your current dream now? Have you thought about that?
I've had like some thought about that, and a lot of people have like asked me what I want to like study in college, or like who do you want to become, and like I've my cousins like showed me some like colleges like when I visited them.
That's great.
But I think for now I don't have like a main focus on what I do, but I'm sure as I grow up I'll find something I enjoy.
That's good. That's good. As long as you have that thought in your mind, and then you're actually discovering along the way, that's great.
Now, for my final question today, if you could give me only one piece of advice for the rest of my life, what would it be?
I guess one piece. Oh, I didn't prepare for this question. I think I would say that always be curious. Always feel like there is something out there bigger and better for you to pursue, right?
Yeah.
Always try to be humble, to be kind, to be kind to everybody, but at the same time curious about what else is out there for you to look. And then once you go down a path, try to be passionate about it and try your very hard for it. And at the end, even it doesn't really go anywhere, or you actually turn out something different than what you originally expect, you still can tell yourself that you learned something out of it and don't be regret about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you feel like today's conversation?
I feel like this was a very valuable conversation between us, and I've learned so many things that I never even knew about you.
Yeah, really? So maybe we should do this more often.
Yeah.
And what do you recommend people like your age do things like this with their parents?
I think it could be beneficial to like learn more about your parents and also bond
Yeah, exactly. Because I think it's also good for the parents. I'll share like from my perspective that I didn't know what kind of question you will ask me. Some of them probably I kind of predict, but some of them I actually did not know. And then it's great for me to also understand what you have been thinking at this age of your life, and then remind me a little bit about what I was like when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to your point, that kind of helped us connect better and then bonding together even better.
I was so glad I got to experience this experience with you, and I hope other people would also do this too with their parents, because this is a very good way to learn more about your parents, and maybe even your parents could learn a bit more about you.
Great!
That's it for today. This is Madison.
This is Pamela.
Bye!
See you next time!